Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here, and we're back with our weekly recap of all things Injustice. It is the week of August 18th, 2022. Current challenge, Batman Ninja Batman. He's a 1 week repeat. The required characters are Catwoman, Nightwing, and Batman, who are all available as cheaply as bronze, and gold respectively. And Batman's actually pretty easy gold. Even if you just get the regular gold pack, there's just so many Batman skins. Pretty good gamble. His passive is Ninja Rising. Oh, and the reason why I make a point of that, and we always make a point of that, is I think the challenge characters are a great entry point for newer players. And it's a shame when the character requirements keep newer players or make it harder for newer players to actually finish the challenge. So Batman Ninja Batman's passive is Ninja Rising. When outnumbered, Batman receives 50% less damage and is immune to life drain. Batman Ninja teammates get plus 20% critical chance, and all teammates gain plus 50% power generation from critical hits. His attack is 1300, his health is 1500, and he was the last available October 21st, 2021. He's got really high stats at 1300 and 1500, making it 2800 total. In fact, that's the same as Batman Ninja Lord Joker, but it's reversed. So Batman has more in the health and less in the attack. Joker has more in the attack and less in the health. I actually prefer the way the stats are loaded with Joker, with more in the attack, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers. Has to be said, I love his name. It's very much like Arrow, Green Arrow. Batman Ninja Batman is so Batman that it has to be in his name twice. Right. On the flip side, he's only 1/3 ninja. So a lot of times when you see Batman Ninja Batman, he's geared as a tank to take advantage of the first part of his passive, taking 50% less damage. And then oftentimes you can see him with any combination of, say, Gingold Soda, Killer Croc Companion Gear, and Batman Ninja Helmet, meaning he basically ends up an invulnerable tank when outnumbered and has some power. And he really is like that. The vulnerability in that kind of loadout is to bleed and shattering gear. But I think the problem with playing him like that is that you miss out on the best part of him, which isn't even his passive. Sure, getting a free 20% crit chance is great. Increased power generation is also great. But the magic happens with his special 2. I think he's, if not the only, he's definitely the best character who has a special 2 that stuns with a small amount of damage right at the beginning and finishes with the highest proportion of the total damage after that stun, which means that he can do a lot of damage when he's using the Cloak of Destiny, Necron Scythe, or both of them, because we know they stack. The biggest problem with his special 2 is, despite doing a huge amount of damage with stun boosting gear, it's that only the last hit of his special 2 can knock out an opponent. So if you want to have a good counter against him, all you need is a revive, whether you get that through gear or the character attributes. And that means if you're using Batman Ninja Batman with a Tantu Totem loadout and you're relying on the special 2 to knock out and get your power back, if the opponent has a revive, you're going to have a much longer fight. You're going to need to tag out, reset, get all your power back. He's a perfect complement to last week's multiplayer reward, right? Batman Ninja Helmet. And I guess if you're going to take advantage of his special 2, you want to figure out a way to maybe generate power or boost stun damage. And I think this would be an interesting play with our Justice League team, with New 52 Wonder Woman giving him the power. And then he can drop in after she does a couple specials to nuke whoever is left. So at this stage, we've had 2 complete runs of a 43-week challenge character cycle that first appeared May 2020. We are in our 3rd week and 31 weeks into that. So that's a grand total of 117 weeks of an uninterrupted pattern. And if the pattern holds, next week is going to be Rebirth Raven. Again, 23 challenge characters are not in that cycle. There's 66 total challenge characters, and the cycle is only 43. So we've been missing a bunch of characters for more than a couple years. This week's multiplayer reward is Astro Force, which becomes Astro Harness. And the abilities, after you max it out, is on any special attack, applies electric damage over time, dealing 10% of special damage for 5 seconds. On lethal hit, 75% chance to trigger Power Shield that will absorb damage up to 40% of max health. And when it's evolved, it's got invulnerability for 5 seconds at health thresholds 100%, 50%, and 10%. Last available January 13th, 2022. We've now had 2 complete cycles of a 31 reward sequence, and we are 23 weeks into our 3rd cycle. In other words, 85 weeks in a row of a consistent pattern, and if the pattern holds, next week should be Quake Engine. And unlike the challenge pattern, this pattern includes every single multiplayer reward. As far as Astro Harness goes, I think this is the platonic ideal of a defensive tank gear. The first 2 abilities, the damage over time, the 75% chance of a power shield, they're okay, they're decent, not particularly remarkable. The 10% damage over time takes 5 seconds to complete, so, it's okay. And a 75% chance to get an extra 40% health is okay too, but 75% isn't particularly reliable, and if you're hit with a hard enough special, that 75% counts with the initial hit, so you could still get knocked out pretty easily. The real key is, and this one ability makes the gear totally indispensable for a tank, is that you get invulnerability for 5 seconds. You get it 3 times, and in general, the principle is that tanks are meat shields that can buy some time for a special specialist to tag out, wait until they can tag back in, and drop another special, which is critical if your team's damage relies on 10 totem. The example we just saw with Batman Ninja Batman, right? If the other team is a revive and you're relying on Batman Ninja Batman to knock them out, if he doesn't knock them out, he's lost all his power, he's got to tag out. Who are you going to tag in? Tag in your meat shield, tag in your tank. And yeah, what else? I guess the other thing with Astro Harness is that if you're going to have a character with Astro Harness, a lot of times it's actually best to have them not in your first slot, because then you can take advantage of that first invulnerability at 100% health, and you only want to turn it on when you tag them in, instead of wasting it right at the beginning when you might not need it. And I got to tell you, there's nothing as satisfying as tagging your Astro Harness tank in just as the opponent does a super on you. Waste all 3 bars of power, even if they've got 10 to them, doesn't matter. If super misses, they don't get their power back. And you lose that if you don't have it in first slot, because then you don't have the certainty of having an invulnerability the moment you tag them in. In our store, Rebirth Raven bundle for $12.99. You don't get power credits. It's a corroborating clue to next week's challenge. And remember, it doesn't unlock in your store, so unless there's a big surprise, you're better off not buying it and just waiting until you can get it free next week by completing the challenge. A couple interesting big ticket bundles that were last available, I believe, earlier this year, end of March. And they both had a couple of weeks, and they're both $125 Canadian, which is a lot. You have to go back as far as 2020 for both of them, when around Christmas they were both $95, and they were as cheap as $66 when they were first introduced back in, I want to say November. One of them was November 2019. Both of them were November 2019, and I guess that's inflation for you. So the Ultimate Bundle Bringers of Justice, what it says is contains 10 of the best heroes. And I mean, you can read yourself what's there. The only really interesting thing is, well, all right, so first, it's good that they're all challenges except for Batman. And Batman is Dawn of Justice Batman, and he was previously a random drop in a special Dawn of Justice Batman pack that used to be for power credits, hasn't come back in ages. I think there are every once in a while opportunities to buy them in a cash pack, but that's the one that makes it interesting. It would be so much better, though, if instead of committing to 10 characters for $125, there was something a little bit not as expensive. And the same issue with Ultimate Bundle Villains and Monsters. Too much for what they say is contains 10 of the best villains. And if you look at the villains, let's see, you've got a bunch of characters that were challenge characters, and you got 3 of them: Flashpoint Deathstroke, Blackest Night Doomsday, and Suicide Squad the Joker Unhinged, which are multiplayer characters. And normally that's a good thing, except Suicide Squad the Joker Unhinged, I feel like, is probably one of the worst gold characters ever, and maybe the worst, well, let's say it's definitely the worst challenge character. It might be the worst gold character, only because he makes fights more difficult no matter what. If you're fighting an easy team, he's dead weight. You don't want him in the fight. If you're fighting harder teams, he's dead weight. You don't want him in the fight. So we've got a second week of Arkham Pack 1, $24.99. We talked about in a lot more detail last week. We've also got the Survivor Pack, which is now there for 32 weeks, the one with Bounty Hunter Lobo and the 2 Scorpions. We've got the Character Bundle Batman Universe for 37th week. And we've got a Most Wanted pack for 44 weeks. We're getting up to a year, another couple of months. We'll have had the Most Wanted pack continuously in the store for a year. And maybe it'll be worth reviewing then, because it's been a long time since we've actually talked about what's in it. Nth Metal packs. Still celebrating a long time. 30 weeks for each of them, except for Aquaman, who's been 32. So Joker, Shazam, 30 weeks. Aquaman, 32 weeks. Our Survivor LexCorp gear for another week until the 24th of August. And Phantom Zone is finished. So that means if the cycle holds, we're going to be missing it for a couple weeks, and then it'll be back. Fight 62 is still broken. Last weekend's breakthrough was Bane, Killer Frost, and Ares. So this coming weekend's breakthrough for gold is probably going to be Sinestro, Green Arrow, and Scorpion. We've got a link in the description to this Reddit thread from Devlin16 that goes over the complete breakthrough cycle. And this is where, if we're going to talk about glitches, we go into it in a bit more detail. But as far as the current glitches go, lately we've only been doing that when something significant changes, which, spoiler alert, it did not happen this week. Or when, if nothing happens, we have that more detailed review once a month, first week of every month, even when nothing changes. So most recently, that was a recap from August the 4th, 2022. And if you're so inclined, you can see a video tutorial for every working glitch in our playlist called Current Glitches. It's linked in the description of this video, and you can reach it by clicking the I in the top right corner of this video. And that's it for this week. Oh, I guess I should say at least that the challenge reset glitch has been confirmed to be working on Batman Ninja Batman, who's the challenge for this week. And that's it. So this is where we like to give a big thank you to our patrons on Patreon, and that would be BomboBen, Console Peasant, and Edwoon, supporting us at top tier Last Word, Sinemac, and Mohammed Albshaiti at the Your Message Here tier, Shawn, Farrell, Daniel Simonson, Aaron Maule, Michael DeVries, Brandon C., Irvin Ruiz, Eddydoo, and Hoshi127 at the credited level, and Chris Wolff, Scarlet, Dani, Awesomegamer 2for1, Pavu RS, Gavin, Mallott, and Isfar E at the gratitude level. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Komoda.